Indy. One word says it all. And for the second time, this legendary venue hosts one of motorsport's most prestigious events, the SCCA's National Championship Runoffs. Together, it's a can't-miss bucket list pairing, and almost 900 entries have arrived, all pursuing two things: a chance to kiss the bricks and a gold medal that says champion. Hi, everybody, and welcome to an overcast but still relatively warm afternoon here at the legendary Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the 58th running of SCCA's National Championship Runoffs, a broadcast today presented by Mazda. Great to have all of you with us. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Larry McLeod. Hayward Wagner will be down in the pre-grid and on pit lane for our coverage. The race that's coming up, as we are ready to get after it here on Haggerty Race Day, is Spec Racer Ford 3. It's called SRF3. Over the years, there's probably over 1,000 of these things that have been built and evolved, and I swear a huge percentage of them have shown up for this race.
I think they're all here. In fact, there's so many of them. They only allow 72 cars to take the green flag, which means about 20 or so had to do a last chance race a couple of days ago. They're now in the field, but you are going to see just this mass, this sea of Spec Racer Fords coming down to take that green flag in a little while, and it's going to be an amazing start to watch.
It is, and that start means we're going to be funneling 72 cars into turn one at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And to give you an idea of that, let's take a look down at our Mazda track map. And this track, 2.6 miles in length, and it's got 14 turns, and it is challenging.
As you said, 72 does not go into one very well.
It's
and
tough
it is going to be very tough as they come down from their first run across the bricks into turn one. They'll hopefully get it sorted out by the time we get to 2, 3, and eventually to 4. They'll get out to turn 6, kind of a carousel turn. Real clean exit there is important because you want to go through 6A and get down that short back straight. And you're going to see a lot of passing out of that back straight. Good tight line at a 7 can get you a position. But then you're a single line, pretty much. Then again, we might be side by side through our S's at 8 and 9. And then you need to get a good clean run off at 10. And wait till you see how much curbing they take at 10 at that apex. These guys are going to be all over it. Come out at 10, back up onto the banking, run down to 12, critical corner at 12 because it sets you up for 13, a good late apex at 13. We might be seeing a run for the finish here after 19 laps from 13 to the finish. Could be a drag race.
You bet. It's certainly going to be a drafting race, and here's the, the wrinkle that's sort of thrown into things. Look at that track surface down this long front straight. It's wet, it's dry, it's wet, it's dry. They're going to be dealing with some stuff, certainly in these opening laps, and you never know. We've been having rain moving through. You know, Mazda's investment into club racing goes beyond the track map presentation. If you race a Mazda, no matter the model or year, they support you through the Mazda Team Support Program. Sign up at MazdaMotorsports.com today. There they are, 72 of the Spec Racer Fords, and somewhere down there digging out some stories is Hayward Wagner. Good afternoon.
Guys, the story is the track. It's the conditions. The sun is out, jackets are off, but there are several cars, couple of big players, Jim Gautry and Mike Meserendino on full wets. There's not really an intermediate tire for this class. It's full wet or full dry. Both of those guys are on wets, and the gamble is, will this race stay green? If it stays green, the track will probably develop a dry line during the race. But if we get a lot of cautions, like we've been getting in this runoffs, a lot, we get cars into gravel traps, things like that, and we're constantly going back behind the pace car, that's going to keep the track wet, or it's at least going to keep the wet tires cool. They're gambling not on weather, they're gambling on cautions. One guy who's not gambling is Dave Ogbern Jr. in the orange car right behind me. He's 5th on the grid. He's been to the runoffs before. He left his family at home this year a little bit intentionally to allow him more time to focus, more time to be a race car driver, more time to look at the data. He's had his best qualifying effort. I just went over to him and I said, "Do you like the wet?" And he got this big grin on his face and he said, "I like everything." We had a little conversation basically summarized as, there's no point in sitting in grid with anything but confidence. He is ready, and guys, his day job is a tire engineer. So he spends most of his time driving cars, feeling tires, looking for grip. So I think this guy's got a real good shot at bringing home a medal today.
Well, certainly if you have tire knowledge and you're out in these sketchy surfaces, that's going to pay some big dividends.
Yes, in fact, I also had a chance to talk to that same driver a bit ago, and he's done a couple of races down at COTA and in mixed conditions like this on regular dry tires. Again, as Hayward says, there's only two choices. Either you get the spec wets or the spec dries, and he's gone out there in those spec dries and been able to run. And it's interesting here, as Hayward mentioned too, that these guys who are out there on these wets, banking on a little bit of maybe a lot of yellows here to keep the tires cool, they're also hoping those wets will be good offline to be able to make passes, because if we've got a single dry line, that offline gets real sketchy.
Now, talk real quick about the difference between the wet and the dries, real quick, in terms of these drying surfaces.
Well, of course, the dry tires are really good for durability. They're going to be great in a dry line, but those wets are extremely soft. The compounds are just so soft, but if you get them out and they get too hot, they just shred completely down, and then they just become useless. Now, being very soft is great in that first couple of corners when it's cold, even on a dry surf, but you go about maybe 3-4 corners in, and they're just going to be shredded, and at that point, they're not even a good rain tire anymore.
So there you have it. Tire management could be a real issue here. This is a 72-car field. We're not going to try and get through the whole thing for you. On the pole is Franklin Futrell. This is his first pole in 5 runoff starts, so congratulations to him. 2 drivers, the 2 that are in the second row, are both super sweep eligible. One is James Goffrey. He'll be starting 4th in the number 68. If he wins this, he's got the super sweep. But if Goffrey finishes 5th or worse and C. Russell Turner ends up with the win, who starts 3rd, so it's certainly possible he would get the super sweep. So there's lots to play for there. And there's a very special award. It's called the Hawk Breakthrough Performer, and it's most improved positions from the first day of qualifying on Tuesday to the second day. And the winner of that is Steve Clifton. He'll be starting way back in the field in 57th, but he made up 12 spots from Tuesday to Wednesday, and what that did was kept him out of that last chance qualifier race, so it was a big thing. So a big thanks to Hawk Performance, the official brake partner of SCCA, for providing that award. Here's the field working their way out onto the track, and as you can see, it is deep, both in terms of number and talent. I mean, the championships that we have in this field. Bobby Sak is the defending champ in the number 19, going off 6th, and we've got certainly a number of champions, but here's an interesting story. Mike Meserendino, who has been the gun in this category, 5 goals between SRF and SRF3 over the years, starts 13th. Yep. That tells you just how fierce this thing is. And here is a good look. Neat story here with the number 50. It's Joshua Hansen. He goes by the name JJ out of Burlington, Wisconsin, and he's a high school senior. He also plays on the boys varsity team and a volleyball team and a high school ski team. Drives for Elite Autosport, but he is also a coach for other drivers. And the way I found out about this, one of the corner workers out there is running in Spec Racer Fords and regionals, and he said, this kid's coaching me, and he is really good. Keep an eye out for him. And he also races in Spec Miata, but this is the thing that's cool, and it explains the family atmosphere in SCCA club racing. His mom and dad support Elite with catering food for the whole team and all of their families, and just does an absolutely superb job. This is his first year in Gen 3, started in regionals last year in Gen 2. This year steps up to Gen 3, won the Cat National, and everybody said, you're ready for the runoffs, my man, go after it. And he qualified, and this tells you how good he is. 1 spot behind the defending champion.
That's a good place to be. Definitely making huge strides, jumping right into the deep end of the pool. There's a big pool to jump into, sometimes more like an ocean around here with the amount of talent that goes back. You talked about guys like Meserendino starting back in 13. Clay Russell, runner-up a couple years ago. He's back in 17. TJ Acker, Scott Reddick, who's got so many championships. He's starting all the way back in 20th. There is talent top to bottom here. The gap on qualifying from a 149.5 for Futrell, a 150.5 gets you all the way back at 19. So 1 second covers 19 drivers. It's going to be anybody's game, but the front 5 are looking to try and make a breakaway.
That tells you how intense and deep it is. Just want to point out that the Thursday afternoon last chance qualifier, a lot of cars in that one. The top 12 advanced to the back of the field. Give a shout out here to Connor Sandin, the number 73 TRO manufacturing machine out of Western Springs, Illinois in the Chicago region. He's a rookie in the runoffs. His family's been involved in SCCA and runoffs competition, but he did a nice job to be able to win that and lead the 12 that are at the back of the field, virtue of the last chance qualifier. But here we go, coming up, getting ready to go. 19 laps or 40 minutes, whichever comes first. Futrell and Sandy Sattullo on the front row, and they are going to be leading the field up as we get ready for the run to gold in Spec Racer Ford 3. Look at this field. These guys are paired up absolutely beautiful. About 10 rows back, though, it starts to get a little bit more ragged, but you're still working through corners. We're green. John Black in the blue number 17 pops to the inside, but he breathed it right when he did, and that may cost him. But look at this. See Russell Turner right up behind Futrell, trying to push him down and make a move as well, and it may have paid off. Turner now is past, but look at Bobby Sak. Oh, wow, what a move from sixth spot, working the outside as they funnel down into turn one.
Oh, great run for Sak. Perfect
time
time
to
to jump, but we got
spin,
contact.
right in front of everybody, contact. Oh boy, there's still 40 cars that are going to be coming. He broke that left rear corner. He's not going anywhere. All right, so this is going to quickly become a full course caution, but wow, look at that as we watch Sattullo has dropped all the way back out of the top 5 and Bobby Sak into second. And they're still racing right now.
Yeah, great start for Bobby Sak to jump from 6th all the way to 2nd. That's the veteran move there. Use that outside line, which means you get a nice clear braking zone, get a great run through 1. He used that to his advantage. I want to say down in 3rd, that's probably the 68 of Goffrey, just ahead of the 23 there of Russ Turner, who started up at 2nd. Then you got Ogbern, who we talked about, followed by Sattullo. This is where these guys start to do this dance. It is very much a dance in these kind of cars between who's your dancing partner from corner to corner. Now, I said these corners here would be a single line. I'm already seeing a couple of double wides here for these guys.
Oh, and Sattullo makes a move and tries to pick that spot up, but he may have to give it back because right as he was making that move, the full course caution has flown. There you see the double flags flying. That is Bonnie Tyler, one of the great corner workers, Kim Joyner, Ben Tyler. They're at that station flying the double flags. They are instrumental to providing information to both the drivers and to race control on a long road course. Race control can't see the whole track, and flying those double yellows, getting this field down and under control. Larry, let's go back, take a look at the start. And it looked like everybody was doing pretty well. And obviously some aggression here. You saw Black move, then he checked up a little bit, thought he may have gone early. And there's that big shove that Russell Turner gave to Franklin Futrell. But Bobby Sak right there on the outside. He braved it through that wet patch, then got bite and just swept the outside. But right in the middle of the field, is it that number 99? There it is.
That's Denny Stripling.
It is. That Stripling got into somebody, and around it went.
Yeah, Denny Stripling, who had a legendary fight at VIR at the end, ended up coming home 2nd in that thing. Been in this class a long time. Yep. Unfortunately for him, looks like his race is finished before he even gets through turn 2.
And look at that. You can tell the guys who are in rain tires because they're already as far down to the inside trying to get as much damp on those tires to keep them cool. That's the 11 of the superstar in his category, Meserendino. And the second guy is TJ Acker, who is one of the general front runners nationally in this category as well.
Yeah, so a couple of guys kind of take that gamble, and this was the gamble that they wanted. Actually, they wanted to see some, not that anybody wants to see wrecked cars, but certainly if you've got rain tires on, you're hoping for opportunities to cool those things. There's a good shot at Mike Meserendino there, a 5-time gold medalist.
And you know, the interesting thing about Meserendino, you look at 5 times he's been a gold medalist in Spec Racer racing, 5 times silver, 3 times, and a bronze, so that's over 10 medals. He's only had 4 poles. He's only had 1 fast lap. He knows how to race.
He's a racer. Yes, for sure.
He has absolutely fantastic racecraft and puts it to use spectacularly. Well, we've got a little bit of time here with this cleanup for the incident with Denny Stripling down at the exit of turn 2. So we're going to take a moment and give you the opportunity to learn a little bit more about the great partners of SCCA.
Why race? Because it's in our blood. A love of driving that pushes us as hard on the road as it does on the track. It's why we reinvented the Roadster and put a piece of it into every car we make. It's why we refine, rethink, and refine again. And it's why we'll always engineer to your heart's BPM, not simply an engine's RPM. Why race? Why indeed?
When the finish line calls, we answer. Hit the road with insurance protection from Hagerty. Whether you drive a built racer, sports car, or exotic, and save an average of $264. Get a quote today at Hagerty.com.
Welcome to that magic realm. Between here and there, a no man's land. in everyone's land, where great expectations grow and rewards are given to the swift, the perceptive, and the daring. Introducing the Mazda CX-30 Turbo with all-wheel drive. More power for your pursuit.
We're back at Hagerty Race Day here at the 58th running of the SCCA, the Sports Car Club of America's National Championship Runoffs. Our tire rack pole sitter, Franklin Futrell, leads under caution. Want to mention that one of the real prestigious awards, it's called the Sunoco Hard Charger Award, most positions gained from where you start in the race to where you finish. And very often it doesn't go to somebody up in that top three, but it's somebody who's had a brilliant race through the field. And great that Sunoco, the official fuel of the SCCA, recognized that and said, we're going to make sure that we recognize that particular driver wherever it happens here. So in this class, when you look at the number of drivers and how deep it is and where some of these guys started, we're going to have a lot of candidates for that. The timing and scoring folks, it's going to be a chore for them to figure this one out, I think, come the end of it.
Opportunities to get through this pack are all over the place. But up in the front, it's going to be opportunities to try and get a breakaway at this point, because now there'll be single file coming off at turn 13. Leader will control them. But, you know, that's an opportunity now for somebody who's in the 5th and 6th to try and make a move. But this is the part of the race off this next green. We get to see a break between maybe the top 5, 6, 7 to those behind. Really critical. If you think you have a chance to win this race, is to be in that front 7 when that breakaway happens.
Absolutely. You see the yard of bricks there. That's where the start and finish line is. And it's closer to coming out of turn 14 than down into 1. And so when they're in this pack, when they come up and get the green flag, there's still a long bit of straight. And you could get some pretty serious drafting going on even before you get down to turn 1 on a restart. So we'll certainly be paying attention to that. And the other thing you might watch for, folks, if you haven't watched Spec Racer Ford racing, you get guys, sometimes you'll see hand signals because it's an open cockpit car, and you'll see a guy that is, he'll be, kind of giving the indication, just race with me, man. Let me haul you around. You go by, haul me around, and let's try and catch these guys. And, of course, you get down to 3-4 laps left in the race, then you have no friends.
Very different hand signals at that point.
Exactly. Good news. Race Control informing us this time by, we anticipate going back to green. It's 19 laps or 40 minutes. And depends on the number of cautions you get in this class. If this is it and we get a nice green run, we could do it and get the full 19 laps in. But these aren't amongst the fastest cars in the category. But these are the cars that Dorsey Schrader, here's a classic example. When he hopped into Trans Am and started doing Trans Am racing, he won Rookie of the Year and won the championship in his 2nd year. He had done some Formula B or Atlantic racing in SCCA, but he did the Pro Spec Racer Series, and he said, that's what taught me how to drive momentum and carry speed. And he said that translated from this car, which is 150 horsepower, somewhere in there, to a 900 horsepower fire-breathing Trans Am car, because he said, if everybody around me got 900 horsepower, and if I could flow more speed through a corner than they are, I'm going to be faster. And he directly credited it to this category, and that's what it's about, momentum.
135 horsepower is what these are spec'd to be. They are sealed engines from SCCA Enterprises when you get them, so there is nothing they can do. The shocks are sealed, the engines are sealed, the gearboxes are sealed, and right now these guys are running a Ford 5-speed gearbox. But 6-speed sequentials are coming next year, which means some of these drivers don't really care if this gearbox makes it 20 laps. It only needs to last 19, because after this weekend, some of these front runners, they're going to go sequential. So watch these guys taking every risk. At this point, it's all going to be for gold or nothing.
And here it is. We restart the race, and Futrell leading him up out of turn 14. You can see everybody stacking up just a little bit, waiting for that green flag, and we're back to racing. Pop move right there by the 68 of James Goffrey. And he's up alongside Bobby Sak, but my guess is, well, now Bobby moves out of the way, then Bobby thinks better of it, because one thing he doesn't want to do is have Goffrey swinging by. Now Bobby pops out just a little bit, and we're 3 abreast. We're going to be 2 abreast at the turning point. What a restart by Sandy Sattullo, as he has come right back up after dropping back in that first one. Big wiggle by Sandy, but he hangs on to it, and Dave Ogbern almost gets into the backup.
Gave him a little push once they got straightened up. Ogbern says, you can't slow down now, we got to go.
And Colin Kaminsky in that black 127 just sort of flat tracking it around the outside here. But this time everybody looks, thus far, we still have people coming through the corner. Ooh, a little bit of a wide moment there, but gathered it up. That might be the 46 of Vogel as they are working their way through the field. You were talking about everything that's sealed on these cars.
Yeah.
We do see contact. These are very sturdy cars.
They are.
They can be, and there's nose to tail. One thing you don't want sealed is that opening on the front of the bodywork, because that's where all of the ducting is.
That's where all your air cooling comes in. And actually, the sun is starting to poke through.
Yeah.
The temperature's going to rise very quickly around here, which may be bad news for folks like Meserendino and Acker, who started this thing on rains. And you saw that back there, a couple of battles going on. That right there is the 17. That is John Black. John, if I recall, actually a former winner out here.
Oh,
won an SRF3 back in Mid-Ohio in 2016, so he knows how to get it done around here in an SRF.
Yeah, John has won in GT cars as well. He's one of those all-rounders, drives lots of different classes.
The most experienced driver in this field. This, I believe, is 35th runoff start.
Remarkable, isn't it? And this class, I mean, there are drivers who are at the sharp end of this are drivers that are as good as anybody, period. They just love this category.
Yeah.
It's in their budget maybe. You don't have to be, that's one of the nice things, being a spec class and a relatively, and I put the air quotes here, low performance, you're not spending $1 bazillion on finicky high performance stuff. Plus, it's spec, so when you get in the car, you know it's down to you.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys just love that. Big nice move here as C. Russell Turner, who had fallen back a little bit. He started in the third spot, had dropped back to fifth, and is now working his way up, as is Black. Nice move there as he cuts around and picks up a spot on Clay Russell, Robeson Clay Russell. These guys have raced each other for years.
Yes, they have. Big slide there, side by side for those two.
I think Robeson saw that Black was going to turn in and had to tighten up his exit a little bit, and the back end stepped out. Nice save. Watching his...
So yeah, Russ Turner here has got a big gap out in front of him up to Sattullo, and then of course Futrell and Sak out in front. He's trying to get up there, and that's why I thought maybe he and Ogbern were going to try to work together down the front straightaway. Didn't quite work out that way as they still were side by side going through one. So I'm thinking maybe that little alliance didn't quite pan out there. Certainly not for Ogbern. But up here in front, this is Sak playing nice at this point. He's trying to get a breakaway. Worst case for him, as well as Futrell, was if they bring Sandy along, it's a three-way breakaway. Look how much curbing, as I mentioned in the track map, look how much curbing they took there through 10. Just clobbering these cars across them, but that's how you carry speed.
Absolutely, it's all about that momentum, and Sattullo is close enough. Ooh, is Bobby going to make the move down here into 12? And is Futrell going to say, go ahead, I'll just tuck in? Nope, this time Bobby decides. But look at that little bit of that moment, and Sattullo is now right with him.
He is, and I think Bobby kind of knew that. Maybe he was thinking for a moment, so wait, I can't do this. We will bring not only Sandy, we're going to bring 4 and 5 and 6 back up there as well. Now down the front straight, they may coordinate some swapping of position depending on what kind of run each other got off of 13 and down through 14 to the straightaway. So you may see Bobby come out, but I'm sure if he does, I don't expect Frankie's going to give much of a resistance, knowing the situation here is you still got a whole lot of laps to run. You might see Frankie just step in line, or maybe Frank's going to say,
wow, he's fighting him.
Nope, he's going to fight. This is going to bring the fight right back into 4th, 5th, and 6th place here.
And you can see he had to fade and let Bobby through, and here comes Sattullo, and that surprised me because Sattullo had been right on him as they were going up into 12 and then dropped back a bit. If they wouldn't have fought like that, they had an opportunity to break this one open, and they decided to argue down into turn 1, and Sattullo's right with them.
And that's Todd Vanacore, a guy who runs a variety of cars, FE2, P1, much faster cars, and he's down here, unfortunately for him, kind of slow on the side there. So, but he's back running again. Take a look out in front here. The one thing in talking to some of these drivers is Sandy Sattullo's name came up. He really laid down that flyer in the day 3 of qualifying, picked up about a second over what he had done previously. And there was, everybody says, well, that moved him up, but he's also a bit of an aggressive driver. And you can see that here, not really being very patient. He wanted to get past Futrell there, and he did, but that may have just brought the 23 of Russ Turner right up in there, this top 4 then.
Yeah, I've watched Sandy race for a number of years, and you're right. He loves to get behind the wheel, throw these around, get after it. He'll race you anytime, and sometimes that works, other times not so much. And Bobby Sak, of course, who is the defending champion, just an absolutely superb start, has played this well, and he's got that little bit of a breakaway. So right now, Sattullo and Turner, and of course Futrell, they really need to just stay line astern here, try and get to Sak, and then try and make a breakaway. But boy, Bobby is on the wheel. He is hooked up today.
Yeah, I think the gap that Bobby Sak would love to have would be probably about 7, 8, even full second would be what he would like to try and break that draft.
You see how quick those two working together got right to the back of Sattullo, and they're both going to try and blow by. And a big move here by Russell Turner trying to get down underneath all of them. That didn't work. And so now Futrell now finds himself back in second with Sattullo third and the 23 of Turner in fourth. And coming up, line of stern now is David Ogbern.
Yeah, they are not helping themselves if they're trying to catch Bobby out in front. Defending champ is saying, you guys can go ahead and play all you want. Back there, I think that's Colin Kaminsky in the 127 now is going to join this fight for this 2, 3, 4, and now 5th place cars. And behind him, I want to say it's John Black had gotten around Ogbern there going into one.
I think you're right. Yep, he is coming now.
So again, look at all the gold medals here up in the front pack. You're talking about guys like John Black now joining up into there with Bobby Sak and Frank Futrell. I mean, there's Futrell had won Formula Mazda back in 2008, so he's been out to the runoffs before. He knows how to get it done. Always quick in these cars. And he was the guy that everybody said, if there's an opportunity for a breakaway, he's the one that might be able to do it. I don't know that anybody thought Bobby could, but Bobby right now is definitely putting a bit of a hurting with this battle going on behind him.
Yep. And
there's the hand wave.
There it is.
Saying, hey, stay in, stay in.
You're going to see that, folks, and it's one of the great things about this category here. You know, Colin Kaminsky here, running in 5th, that black 127 is up from 14th on the grid. He had a really good start, too. The other thing, I just want to say this because I've always thought it, David Ogbern, the 108, the name of his team, I think, is one of the best names in motorsports for a race team, Yaw Moment Racing. Just fantastic. And one thing you don't want in these cars, if you're trying to be fast, is yaw.
You don't really want a lot of that. These things, you kind of got to keep them in a pretty good carved arc. But you see them now starting to play a little bit nicer this time with Futrell leading Sattullo down into 1. And Russ Turner also kind of hanging back. It might mean that 127 of Kaminsky gets to stay with them, but it also means they're going to get a lot closer to Bobby. And I think this time by, they looked like they were quite a bit closer as they came through 1.
Absolutely, they were here.
Futrell's trap speed that time by 130 miles an hour. Bobby Sak's 122.
And that's all because Futrell had 3 cars behind him. You know, it's the old adage, 2 cars are faster than 1, 3 than 2, 4 than 3, if you play well together. That's the key. Big piece of body work off to the edge of the track, right where a lot of these guys track out. Fortunately, it's a little bit farther upstream, so not really on the line. If you run that line well, look at that. A little bit of indecision there by Ogbern. Should I? Shouldn't I? Should I?
That's 31 of Clay Russell out in front of him.
Yeah.
Clay Russell started this race at 17th. He's got himself up into 7th, so he's been moving on here pretty quick.
Right now, these guys are doing what they need to. Just stay in line and draft, use each other up into this turn 12. One of the reasons this turn is so tricky, you climb up onto the banking. It's basically IndyCar turn 2 on the oval. You come up on the banking, but when you brake and then dive down, you literally, it falls off. It's almost negative camber, negative banking as you turn down that corner. Really easy to lock up and overshoot that corner. You got to be on your game, but it's a great overtaking area if you get the run. So it's a real dance on the old brakes.
And now that the pavement is drying out from the showers we had earlier over the lunch break, these guys now have an option for a second line to make passes like that they wouldn't have been able to do if this race were an hour and a half ago. A little bit of tapping under braking there. It looked like Sattullo might have gotten in the back. Might have gotten back of Futrell there. Futrell gave him the wave and said, it's okay, stay in line, let's go, let's go.
Yep, that's the whole thing right there.
They're not necessarily doing a good job of playing nice, though, and that's the issue here. And for Bobby, he's okay with it. Bobby Sak out in the lead.
Look at that move by 17 of Black down underneath Robeson, Clay Russell. Those two been slicing and dicing here. Right in front of them is Colin Kaminsky. Just, well, you were talking, checked a couple of weather apps we have open. Both of them are saying no rain for the next hour, and that means the guys that start on those rain tires, they got a long day ahead of them, don't they?
Yeah, TJ Acker and Mike Meserendino are not having the day that they wanted right now. As this front pack now is clearly broken away. There's about nine cars that you can see in that train, and here's a good look at how those cars sort of nest together as Sattullo in the back of Futrell. But he's got to watch Sattullo. That air opening you mentioned is not a very big opening. It's just a piece of aluminum down on the bottom, tends to bend up a little bit. You'll see them after races kind of straighten that out for the next race.
while we don't have rain, the other side of the equation is, you know, it is 72 degrees and humid, so you need these cars to still be getting some good air. But boy, Sattullo is doing everything he can to try and shove our tire rack pole sitter, Franklin Futrell, up to the back of Sak. And Sak is just throwing down some impressive laps on his own.
He really is. And you know, I talked to a couple guys after the practice over the weekend, last weekend, before we even got to qualifying. They said it was interesting. Normally you think these cars are faster in a train. Yes, they are in a straight line, but it's very difficult to hit your marks as the trailing car. And if you got a guy behind you sort of pushing you, it's difficult to hit your marks as well. So sometimes you can turn faster laps by yourself, or at least on par with what you could do in a train. And Bobby's kind of showing that right now. This is the fast way to do it. That's a coordinated dance of a move there. And Sattullo is able to get by 97 of Futrell, and Futrell lets him go. That way Sattullo gets the drafts, gets the straightaway speed, and give him the good braking zone so they can come through the corners fast. But this is the difficult part, is now you got to make sure that the lead car is fast through the twisty bits.
That's the key. And flowing the speed and letting that car stay in front, just trusting that for now, you guys, this plan is us all working together. And playing that out here now, the question is, as you said, is Sattullo fast enough to lead this group up to Bobby Sak? As we come out, I love this drone shot, out of 6A and onto the Holman straight, long infield straight here, extremely wide, inviting to just suddenly turn, go right to the apex. But the odds are you're never going to make that corner if you do it with enough speed to be able to make a pass. And you don't want to do that, because if you get freight trained, it's amazing how quickly you can go from 3rd, 4th to 13th, 14th.
Yes, it is very easy to do that. So you really got to be cautious. Watching these guys now, they may have closed a little bit of gap to Bobby Sak, and Bobby just keeps watching the lap counts. Because we're going to finish lap 10 here, and he just continues to hope these guys behind him don't figure out how they have to play nice. And if they can get anywhere near, and if we end up with maybe a 4-car near the finish, I'm looking at John Black, that veteran. He's made some pretty good moves already, showing some of these younger drivers that he still has the skills to do what he's doing. You got to keep your eye on him as the race stages start to close down. But look at that train. They are almost close enough to pick up a draft off the back of Bobby Sak.
I'll tell you, I'm really impressed here with the drive by Kaminsky. This is only...
They're going to go 3 wide into 1 if Kaminsky's not careful. All right, he backed out a little bit, and they're going to give John Black that inside so they can play nice.
But the drive by Kaminsky, this is only his 3rd runoffs, but one of them was right here in Indian 17 to finish 5th. So
out of 72 cars in that field as well. So here he is running in the top 5.
Doing a really nice job, but that margin now, last lap it was 1.1 seconds. This lap it's 0.9. So those guys drafting together are closing it up. But once again, I am just mega impressed with the speed that Bobby Sak is showing by his own. As we watch Kaminsky now trying to dive underneath Turner.
Not sure what he was thinking there. He's still side by side though, coming out of 6A.
Oh boy, this is what I'm talking about. Now he's trapped. And these guys aren't necessarily going to just let you back in here if they view you as a threat.
Side by side to the S's, that's where Futrell said, okay, fine, go. Just go. We don't want to lose this. Ogbern trying to get a little bit desperate here as well. Doesn't want to lose sight of anybody out in front of him. He's now side by side behind all this.
This is one of the things I love about this class is it's such a chess match. It truly is at high speeds.
Clay Russell and Dave Ogbern kind of gave each other a wave of, hey, we got to catch up, we got to catch up. As they were side by side going through 10. Not the fast line through 10 by any means. Bobby looking so crisp out in front.
Well, here's a little stat for you folks. The top 9 right now are covered by 4 seconds. I mean, that's just remarkable. Not in terms of lap speed. I mean distance from 1st to 4th as they flash underneath the 1st to 9th.
And to go back to, if you're the trailing car going through some of the infield section there, your visibility is the rear deck lid of the car in front of you. That's all you have. And you're just hoping that guy hits his marks and you can hit your marks and follow in line. If that car misses the braking point by an inch, you're probably going to miss it by 2 and create some havoc. So it's really difficult as a trailing car visibly to be able to see around you.
That's one of the things you have to deal with when you're running in packs in these cars is be wary of target fixation. Always be ready to make that adjustment here. I get the feeling that John Black thinks if he can get to the front of this queue, he can lead him around or maybe break free on his own.
I'm thinking John Black, I think he's got some thoughts here, but I'm thinking his thoughts are that maybe he's thinking with 7 laps to go that Bobby Sak is untouchable and he just wants to be at the front of this train. What we had seen, you go back to last year when Bobby won at Road America, watching Bobby, if you just go back and watch his strategy through the race, was never lower than third. He got passed a couple of times. He would go from third to second to first, back to second, back to third. But he made sure that on the last lap, he was in second and made sure he got the pass done going for the win. And that's, I think, in this sort of going for second place here for John Black is that strange strategy. I want to make sure I'm up in either 2, 3, or 4 so that in the end, I got a best shot to make the pass, take that second spot, assuming that Bobby's untouchable. But he may be looking at a fight here.
Oh, Sattullo really got crossed up going through 10.
Kaminsky
too, but as he went in, it got sideways on him, and that may give John that little bit of a move he wants to get down to the inside of Sattullo and take that spot away. He does exactly that. Flows a lot of speed, and now we'll see what he has. And you know, on some tracks, obviously, if you can break away, you want to do that. But if you're leading a pack of cars, and I mean a close pack of cars, last place you want to be starting that last lap is in the lead.
Yeah, you're sitting duck at that point. You want to make sure that you're probably second is a great place to be. Third's not so bad. Talking to some of these guys, though, if you're on the second to last lap and you have an opportunity to take the lead, you don't really want to give that up either, because you just never know if perhaps the yellow comes out or something. You take your opportunity late in the race when there's whether it's 1 lap or even 2, possibly even 3 laps to go, just to give yourself that opportunity.
Margin this time by, wow, up to 1.7 seconds. So all that little bit of exchanging behind is really allowing Bobby to get away. And that leads me to believe that I think you're absolutely spot on, Larry, that this pack behind him have accepted the fact that unless Bobby makes a mistake, it's his day.
Yeah.
Go for second, try and at least get yourself a medal here, because they're starting a little earlier than we may have thought, starting to get real racy out there.
Yeah, I really do. I think that they've just kind of given up in the thought of catching Bobby out in front now, almost 2 seconds clear of the pack. And so for John Black, Sandy Sattullo, Colin Kaminsky, it's just gloves are off. They're just going to start fighting now as we've got 5 laps to go here.
Now, John Black did set fast lap of the race here. Oh, problem for Kaminsky.
Pulling off line. I don't know what happened there.
But Black does have fast lap of the race, so he's got speed by a nice little margin, about 3/10 over everybody else. That came in a draft, of course.
Sure.
But he's got some speed here. But Bobby is continually running laps 153, 150.4, and those are all by himself. Yeah, smoke coming out of the back of Kaminsky's car. So his day is done.
Just takes one more fighter out of the mix there. That's this pack. That's what the other guys behind him saying, okay, fine, well, we lost one. It's time to continue fighting with the rest.
So Bobby Sak just continues to ease away, but Bobby's pace is such that now he's going to start running into some traffic, and he's going to have to be dealing with that as well. Oh, this might change things. The 0.5 is off and into the gravel here. That could really shake this up a bit if he can't get out.
Steve Clifton.
Yeah. What a shame.
Yeah, that's a tough spot. That's right there on the outside of 6, and he's not going anywhere. Now the fight is on before the yellow comes out. Who can be in what position? I think this is going to be fast enough. We'll still get green laps, but nobody wants to take that chance. It looks like maybe we're going full course yellow.
Just got the call from race control, so Bobby Sak is going, are you kidding me? I worked so hard to get there. But the one redeeming thing was Bobby was about to catch a pack of 10-lap cars. And that could have really, I mean, traffic can help you immensely, and traffic can take everything away from you.
It gives you something to draft off of. At the same time, if you catch him in the S's, you're going to lose 3/4 of a second off the pace you're normally running. So,
yeah, precisely.
Unfortunately for Clifton, he's just stuck. You can see him just digging a hole with those back tires. That floor pan is pretty low.
Yep, and you see the different color there. Of the gravel and all the rain that we've had. That gravel now not only is just, designed to slow you down, but now it's wet and really thick and heavy.
Sandcastles at this point.
Exactly. So.
Well, this is going to be interesting now with Bobby Sak's lead evaporated.
And did you see John Black? He was signaling. Was it to Bobby or was it to Sandy Sattullo? But was saying, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be interesting now. We're probably going to maybe get maybe 4 laps, depending on. This should be a quick pull, but we'll have to wait and see. Even if we get 3 for a sprint is just going to be mayhem. 4, they may take a lap and then go after. But once you come across the stripe there to start lap 17, it is just going to be crazy.
Let's see. We have a replay. I believe we don't have quite the front end of it, but see him Another car there may have been a little bit of a contretemps.
Perhaps. Just unfortunate the gravel here is so deep. They're
Yep.
obviously intended for cars much larger, much faster than Spec Fords, but once you go, as you can see, a half a car length in, you're digging a hole.
Now, the good news is it should be get the flat toe out there, hook it up to the bar, pull him, and off he'll go. And he may be bringing a fair amount of gravel onto the track, but hopefully he'll stay offline, and we can get back to this race. And it is going to turn in to an absolute brawl here, because at this point of the race, normally anyway, under 10 minutes, gloves would be coming off.
Yeah.
There is a look at Scott Reddick.
Yeah.
And he sits back in 12th. I mean, that just tells you how deep this field is.
Yeah.
Multi-time gold medalist here. And the guy behind him, sitting in 13th, is the number 34 of Umberto Miletti. And I tell you that just because I think that's one of the coolest names on the entry list. And he's a great guy and a really quick driver.
So also, you notice there's a couple of, there he is, there's Umberto.
Yeah. Oh,
Giving us the wave too. He's probably got the broadcast on his iPod there with the earbuds in, I think he's listening to us.
Ciao.
So there's a couple of lap cars in between this front 10 that, you know, if they're nice, they're going to try and pull themselves out of the way. But if they're just thinking, you guys got to get around me, it could really create some gaps here on a short sprint to the finish. And now I see the clock now ticking down out there.
Yeah.
So we may or may not be able to get to the full 19. So we might be looking at a 2-lap sprint at the end of this.
It's entirely possible. And here's the question I'm going to ask. I think Bobby is now worried a little bit because he was fast when he was on his own. But now, coming up to the start, if you go early and you think, I want to build the gap, the guys behind you, they draft and they catch you, they're by. If you wait, and go late, they can jump you.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can only imagine what's wandering through his mind right now.
Yeah, and you know, we saw that on the start, he had such a tremendously strong start. Starting back in 6th spot, he took to the left right along that outside wall and got himself up to about 3rd, Jared, just on the very first lap. Was able to do it again there the second time by, eventually taking the lead. Now that he's the hunted out in front, he's got to decide, where does he go? Do you go to the inside and protect? Do you do that, jump early, jump late? I'm sure all those thoughts and scenarios are going through his mind, as a lot of these drivers, being one of the last races of the weekend, they've had a few days to think about it. And sometimes that's a lot to think. And, you know,
that's true.
Every strategy's gone through your head. And for the defending champ, he's a little worried that maybe it's kind of fading here. But with the aggressive drivers like Black and Sattullo behind him, anything's possible.
If they just start attacking on each other, Bobby will be smiling. I wonder if we're going to see coming out of 14 on this restart even, as soon as the green comes out, Bobby starts doing a weave to try and break toe. But here's the thing. Either the whole field will go with him and we're going to have this snake, or he's going to do it, and Black and Sattullo say, well, he's going the long way now. Stay straight.
Yes.
And let's just go.
Keep the rolling resistance to a minimum and just take the straightest point if you can.
So many scenarios could play out here.
And right now he's probably on comms with his team saying, what do I do? What do I do? What's better here? What do we know about these other drivers? A lot of knowledge between these drivers, because a lot of these guys, they run the majors together. And so this top 10, they're usually very familiar with each other's tendencies. Who tends to be the late jumper on a restart? Who tends to maybe rather push on a restart as opposed to popping on the restart? They're using all that data they collected, not only in the last 14 laps, and how much have they collected in the last 14 months or 36 months for some of these drivers who've been working against these guys every race.
Getting word, green next time by. So all of these questions will be answered.
Means we might get 3 laps based on the clock now, under coming down about 6 minutes and 40 seconds. By the time we go around again, there could be 3 minutes and 40, which may only be 2 laps.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out.
Depends on how fast this pace car is on this lap right now.
You know, earlier I mentioned this is a chess match. You know, in chess, strategies and moves often that become famous get names. If Bobby pulls this off, we may be looking at the Sak defense.
I don't know if I want to play that move. But he right now, he's got all the scenarios going through his mind. And to see what he can do, to see if he can use the chess moves to beat Black.
Exactly.
He's got some fast guys around him.
Oh, he
Black,
does.
Sattullo, Turner, Futrell, Clay Russell. You look at those names down there and say, man, these guys have a lot of medals around this place. John Black, I believe he's a 4-time winner. I'd say he's got 15 medals.
Yeah, 15 medals total, 4 golds.
Yep.
But his last one came in 2016 in Mid-Ohio, so he's hungry.
And Clay Russell, a 2-time winner. Futrell's got championship in the past. There's a lot of hardware among this front 5.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind with Black is the medals and the golds and everything, but the guy's got 10 pole positions and 6 fast laps, which means he's just brutally quick.
Yes.
And where you end up, and luck and strategy plays a lot in these races, and he's been able to make it work 4 times for the golds, but he's got outright speed.
In 35 runoff starts, you take that speed and combine that with a lot of experience. And some of the drivers around him are a lot younger than he is. I'm not calling him old. I'm just saying the others may be younger than him. Certainly another Bobby a few years younger than John up there in that front row. So he may be thinking, how do I outsmart the defending champ?
Yes, exactly. And Bobby, I mean, obviously a lot of success, but you bring up a good point. This is only his 11th start versus the 35th for John Black. So it's interesting. Up in the front right now, though, we got a fair number of guys with a lot of experience. So we're not going to have that super young gun who just doesn't know any better and pull something out. But look at Bobby.
He's going.
He said to heck with it. I want a gap, but I want it now. And he has dropped the hammer. And the question is Black close enough to be able to do anything with it? We are green. And here we go. Going to find out. I think we might get those 3 laps in. I think we might. So let's see. Here comes the 23 of Turner. He looks down inside of Sattullo. Behind him, Futrell is hunting. And John Black just drafts right up behind Bobby. Bobby actually overshot one, missed the apex a little bit, but more importantly, he held on to the lead.
He definitely did, and that's the hardest thing to do, as you had said earlier. On a restart, being the leader, you're kind of a sitting duck, but he took option A, hit the gas coming up at 13, let everybody else figure it out behind you. I think he caught everyone just a smidge off guard, just enough to be he could have the advantage going into 1. But you saw Russ Turner there make the move on Sandy Sattullo, and they've been battling all race long. As behind them, I think that's the 31 of Clay Russell, also swapping positions there, just ahead now of Futrell, that number 97 in that blue car.
Yep, they're dicing and slicing.
A little wide there for
big
Turner.
Wide, yeah. That's going to cost Turner some momentum, and it's going to help Black. And Bobby, he didn't lose much. He never lifted at all, but it was enough for Sattullo to knife down underneath going into 7.
Yeah, so now they're fighting for 3rd, giving a little breathing room there for Sattullo up in 2nd. Or John Black, excuse me, John Black up in 2nd. A little bit of breathing room now, back to 3rd. Black is just looking to see, can he get, now all he's thinking now, hit the run off of 13. That's the critical corner.
Keep me close enough to Bobby to be able to get a little toe. And right there, you could see that Turner was thinking about Sattullo and realized, if I dive down the inside 12, I'm going to park us both and it's game over.
Yeah.
So he immediately tucked back in again. And it was a smart move because now he and Sattullo are close enough that they might be able to get a little bit of a pull off of Black. But look at Bobby. The speed he rolls through 12, 13, and up through 14 is superb.
Just nailed the fastest sector 2 through the S's of the entire race. This is what they call hitting the out lap. Just making sure to gap them right here. It is going to be 2 more laps to go.
That outlet, or that last sector you talked, or middle sector, he was 3/10 quicker than anybody else. That Reddick just ran wide down in 1. It tells you the fierceness of this pace.
Alongside Justin Claudery right now for Reddick. Claudery last year, I think, was up in the top 10 at the end of that race. Reddick, of course, is now, what, a 7-time gold medal winner. A little loose bodywork there on Sattullo's car now. You can see that front kind of bouncing a little. That's not going to help him in a straight line.
You saw that little bit of a touch at one point. These are sturdy cars, but you hit them just right, and you can loosen up clips. Look at Bobby's flowing immense speed through all of these turns, man. They have hit the setup. There's not a lot you can do to these cars, but you can do little tweaks, even air pressure, that sort of thing. And you know what? I wonder if maybe he started with a slightly higher pressure so that the car comes in right away and allows him to get a gap, then things equalize a little bit.
And given how that lap just went after the restart, you may be spot on with that.
Because if you start with a higher pressure, it comes up, obviously. Oh, boy. This is the 68 off into the gravel.
Down at 4.
That's a shame.
That's a tough spot to be. And as we come up now here to see white flag, I'll be curious to see if we end up going yellow just for that corner or if we end up bringing out any kind of full course. But it looks like we might stay green for one more time through 1, but then they're going to see that yellow when we get down to 4. So if you're going to make a move, got to do it early.
Was that the 68?
That was.
That's Jim Goffrey, who was the guy who, if he won
started in 4th.
He would be super sweep. White flag, no full course caution yet, but he would be super sweep. And if he was out of the top 5, then Russell Turner, who currently sits 4th, has an option at it. But he's in defense mode right now. He's got to win it. That's the first thing to the super sweep. And he's in a, and they pulled the trigger on the full course, but it's the last lap. So basically, the good news for Bobby is that it ensures he will get another gold.
He's already
waving already.
Behind him. Yep.
The bad news is it takes away a stunning race to the finish on this last lap for the rest of us. But that is how things fall sometimes. And you're always going to err on the side of safety, obviously. And you got a driver in that gravel trap. And the whole thing is, folks, if one gets there, somebody else could. Let's take a look at what happened to Goffrey. But here it is. He was down underneath somebody. And I don't know if there was contact, but he certainly got pinched. And then the 159 got caught up in it. That's a tough break for Scott Reimer. But Bobby, second straight gold medal. And yeah, he's getting it under caution, but he had made a break again.
Yeah.
He just had a fast car. The crew hit the setup, and Bobby was extracting everything out of it, and he just outpaced him.
Yeah, he was 10/10 of that outlap. In fact, the restart lap, he got a pretty good jump off of 13, as we mentioned. The lap was a 150.3. Fastest lap of the race was John Black at a 50.0. So he essentially ran the fastest lap of the race there on that restart, which gets back to your point about, boy, those tire pressures might have been perfect for those kind of cold restarts to be able to really nail it. And I tell you, Bobby, the setup, he nailed it. His strategy worked really well to get a couple of spots on the first start, to get a couple spots on lap 2, and let the guys behind you just fight for second.
Yep. And, you know, in this class with this many cars, obviously they anticipated a couple of yellows, and he used it to great effect on this. And if this is, in fact, his strategy, but he came up quick, built a gap, caution, built a gap. You know, that's...
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Here we go. Regardless, look at the wiggle. He's doing a little bit of a wiggle there, celebrating as Bobby Sak defends his national championship in Spec Racer Ford 3. John Black, another medal into his trophy case, and Sandy Sattullo comes home in 3rd, and great run for him as well. And this is Sandy's first medal in the runoffs. So a great day for him as well. But for Bobby, look at the celebration in that car. And you think this doesn't mean something to these guys? This is what they live for. This is their Indy 500, their Daytona, their Le Mans. This is it. Look at that celebration. And like we said, he did it the old-fashioned way. He earned it. And he just got to the front. And no matter what the guys behind him did, Larry, in terms of drafting and working together, couldn't touch him.
No, they could not. They couldn't touch him off the restart, couldn't touch him anywhere, even by pushing each other around and trying to get the draft in their favor. Didn't matter. Bobby was fast all by himself. Now goes back-to-back, as a few others have done in this field. But when you start stamping that with the names of, like Meserendino, you go far back to Warren Stillwell winning about 7 in a row, back there in the 90s, and you start winning multiples of these things, you know, they start talking about some pretty good wheelman there.
Well, I'll tell you, watching Warren Stillwell back in the day, the guy was a master of spec category racing and was absolutely phenomenal and untouchable at Mid-Ohio. And, of course, John Phippen announced all of those races at Mid-Ohio, and he was absolutely brilliant. And if I may, I'm going to take a moment here and say, how cool is it we have John Phippen working with us?
Oh, yeah.
Just a delight to have him here calling these races. He called so many at Mid-Ohio and so many after that, and it's just right to now have him working on the TV broadcast with us. So he's sitting behind me, and 10, 20, 30, thank you, that'll do. No, it's great to have him here. It's great to have him here. Absolute delight. And look at Bobby. Talk about delight. Geez, by the time he gets around, he's going to have no feeling in that fist anymore. He's holding it so tight as he's pumping.
He's going to throw his shoulder out doing that.
Exactly. Waving at all the workers out there on the corner. Believe me, all the workers out there, you know, on the cool-down lap, they're at the side of the track, sometimes doing the old Grand Prix salute with multiple flags, but certainly out there waving at people. And the workers that, you know, they get racing, they understand it, and they know this class, and they know what Bobby just did is really difficult to just win it without any help. And oftentimes you'll see workers in that category, because I know I've done it, as the driver comes by, you actually are giving him the "we're not worthy" bend at the waist double thing.
So I just looked up something really quick. Last time here in Indianapolis, it started out today for Bobby Sak, because maybe thinking deja vu all over again. He started 6th in 2017. Unfortunately for him, that day he finished back in 34th. Today, 6th ends up getting him the win. So for him, probably had that thought going through his mind. He's like, man, here I am starting 6th again, just like the last time. But this time, very, very different outcome for Bobby. Now he goes back to back. Racers
are superstitious bunches. That, and just to mention something that I didn't allude to, and I should have, the tire rack pole sitter when we were here in 2017, a guy named John Black. So he's fast around this track. But Bobby had them covered today. And he is bringing that number 19. Remember, folks, he started 6th, and we talked about he's bringing that Elite Autosport entry. He is a teammate to JJ that we talked about early on here. And how about Joshua? How about JJ up into 11th? Good, solid run for him. He dropped back a little bit, but this was his first runoffs, and he's up against some of the very best in the business. And I'll tell you, JJ, the high school student, went to school today. Look at Bobby. He is dancing.
He's practically out of the car, ready to give Mom and Dad a big hug here when he gets pulled in here and talking to Hayward. Hayward may have to wait because there's a whole lot of celebrating going on.
Look at that.
Yeah, look at him. He's been celebrating for 2 laps. And
I think he's doing a little salsa dance inside that car. He's so pumped. And you know Dad is there. Dad, of course, his dad, Don, raced in Trans Am, and they put a Trans Am team together. And Bobby did a little Trans Am racing. All right, the gold medal for the 2nd straight year goes around the neck of Bobby Sak. The Hoosier Tires little necklace goes around. I don't know what you call that, actually, but we'll call it that. And now it's time to get down to Hayward Wagner. And I'm not sure he's got any breath to talk, Hayward, just from celebrating.
Bobby's going to jump up out of the car for a second. The gold medal. Woo! You drove away from the field not once, but twice. What did you have no one else did?
I have a great team. Elite Autosport. This guy right here, Ryan Hamitman. He has convinced me. It took me a little longer than my teammate Sandy, but he convinced me that he knows exactly how to make this car awesome. Qualifying, race day. I mean, we've been fast all year, and it's just amazing, Indy. I got to thank my mom, my dad, my wife Liz, my sister Amy's here, the whole team with Bo and Clint and Zach and Jason, and then Tony Grau as my engineer. And man, I tell you what, the meeting we had again worked amazing, and this car was just lights out. I don't think, I mean, if it got sideways, it was my fault, not the car. And it was awesome. And you can see how great our team is. Sandy's on the podium too, so thanks Elite Autosport.
What were your emotions when you saw the full course yellow come out? You'd stretched the lead, you had the race under your control, caution comes out. What were you feeling then?
You know, obviously it's good because I didn't have to try and hold John off. At the same time, you want to win under green. You know, you want to.
I meant the one before that, the one that reset the race.
I hated it. I hated that one, the first one. But I knew I had a good car, and I was watching Max Grau in the other race, and so I knew I kind of wanted to do the opposite of what he did on the last restart. And no offense to Max, but to gun it out of the last corner worked, and it was great. But Max helped me a lot right before the race. He gave me a lot of advice, and it worked out.
Congratulations, 2 in a row. Qualified 6 or 5 years ago, came back 34th. This year, 6-1.
Yeah, we didn't hop over Denny Tripling this year, so it was a whole lot better.
Yep. Sometimes a short memory is good for a racer, but that one is going to stick with him for a while. But how about that? Racing capital of the world for the 2nd straight year. He gets a medal here, and that not only his 2nd gold, but his 5th medal total.
Yeah.
So Bobby's doing a great job. Let's get right back down to Hayward.
John, it looked like you got a little bit snookered on that restart. Did he go early? What did it feel like to you?
No, we had talked about what we were going to try and do for restarts, and he did it exactly like we had talked, and I was snoozing, and I just blew it. And the car, I had a fantastic car before that full course caution, and then after it I did not have the same car and didn't have anything for him. But boy, he did a good job on that restart.
Well, congratulations on a silver. Sandy, I don't know if we've seen you on one of these podiums before. does the bronze feel?
First time, yeah. Bronze is awesome. First time here to Indy. Before the weekend started, I told Bobby, who's my teammate, I said, honestly, a top 10, if I could just run in the top 10, that would be a victory for us. So to be able to get it in second place in qualifying and then run in pretty much the top 5 the whole race, just really proud of Elite Auto Sport and this whole team for making that happen.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, he gave it a great ride. And you heard John Black say, I didn't have the same car. Generally, that's one of two things. Either you had marbles, the clag on the tires, and it takes a few laps to clean it up, or he may have been under pressured, and it just had no grip. And when he was the longer green flag runs, when it comes up to pressure, you're pretty good. Look at that, Bobby Sak. That is a serious weight penalty he's carrying right there. But wow, what a very special moment for that team, Elite Auto Sport. Absolutely fantastic. And they are delighted, as they should be. And I love Bobby saying, he convinced me he knows how to set it up, because a driver is always second guessing. Yeah, but what about this? And every once in a while, you got to have your engineer, your crew chief just say, look, shut up and drive the car. It's right. And Bobby decided to listen and extracted everything out of it. And wow, what a run. And let's take a look at some of the highlights. There's the Grand Prix salute on the victory lap there. There's Bobby Sak, John Black, Sandy Sattullo on the podium, Russell Turner and Clay Russell right there, 4th and 5th. Futrell, I'm sure from the tire rack pole to 6th, he's a bit dejected, but a great weekend nonetheless. David Ogbern in that yaw moment racing. I'm going to say that a lot. Justin Hill, Caleb Schrader, and Grant Vogel round out the top 10. And again, a shout out to J.J. Hansen, the high schooler, for just missing on the top 10. Good stuff. Now we'll take a look at those highlights. And it was a great start, but what we want to watch right there, Bobby Sak popped out, and he had a clear lane.
He did. He had a great line on the outside, and the advantage of him is he can pick his own braking point. Don't worry about everybody else who's able to do this. Go right from 6th to 3rd on the very first turn, and a lap later, he found himself with an opportunity to go a little further. His Denny Stripling, unfortunately, got spun here and alluded to his start also a couple of years ago. But no matter here, as you can see, watch Bobby Sak now in the middle of this train. Does kind of the same thing, able to make his move, and then he just started moving out. But the battles behind, John Black here was one of them. I think you talked about his tire pressures. I think they came up, but once they did, he was fast.
He got up here on the inside of Sandy Sattullo. Both of these guys would eventually end up on that podium, but it was cut and thrust stuff. Here comes Sattullo, just sort of straight line to the inside of Turner, made that stick. Then we had this moment, a couple of cars getting involved, and there was Goffrey as he ended up in the gravel. That made it a full course caution. They couldn't clean it up, and there was Sak getting his 2nd straight win. Black and Sattullo and the rest of the field coming through. And there's the gold medal going around Bobby's neck for the 2nd year in a row. Congratulations to our champion, Bobby Sak, and to everybody else. The beautiful pagoda tells you where we are. What a treat to have been here at Indy for these 58th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. Our broadcast presented by Mazda. The run to the gold in Spec Racer Ford 3 is done, and we're wrapping things up. For Larry McLeod and for Hayward Wagner, I'm Greg Creamer. Thanks so much for joining us, folks, and take care.
Welcome to that magic realm between here and there, a no man's land, and everyone's land, where great expectations grow and rewards are given to the swift, the perceptive, and the daring. Introducing the Mazda CX-30 Turbo with all-wheel drive, more power for your pursuit.